Welcome to Very Interesting. I'm Elle Vancil, your host, here to talk with Alix Gasser today about SEMO NASV. Welcome to Very Interesting.
Hi.
So just tell me a little bit who you are and what you do at NASV.
Sure. So my name's Alix Gasser. I'm the Development Director at Southeast Missouri Network Against Sexual Violence, or SEMO NASV. I've been there for 3 years. I have a background in nonprofit work, working with a number of different nonprofits, but have loved my time at SEMO NASV and just the work that we do there.
So what exactly is NASV or SEMO NASV?
Sure. So SEMO NASV, we assist survivors of sexual violence. Specifically, we work with children that have faced physical and sexual abuse and adults that have faced sexual assault. We serve 8 counties in southeast Missouri, so that's Perry County all the way to the bottom of the boot heel. We provide forensic interviews, forensic exams, advocacy, counseling, and all of those are completely free of charge to our survivors in that area.
So all of these services are free. How do you support the survivors of sexual violence within these services?
So basically what happens is if a child has faced sexual assault or sexual violence, a hotline call is made and that referral comes to us. And then we do what is called a forensic interview. And that forensic interview is done in a non-leading fashion. It is documented. It's done on closed circuit television, and then they can actually enter that into a court of law if necessary. And that just documents what actually occurred. Then they can get what's called a forensic exam just to make sure that their body's okay. A big part of the forensic exam is for a child to know that their body is normal, that no one's going to be able to tell that anything's wrong with their body. That's a big relief for kids. The big thing about the forensic interview and the forensic exam is they choose how much they want to be part of it because choice has been taken away from them. So any part of our services, they can choose how much they want to engage with it because that choice has been taken away. As far as advocacy goes, our advocates go and they talk them through the court process. They help them find additional resources because unfortunately, they may not be just facing this sexual violence issue. They might also be facing housing insecurity or food insecurity, or they may need assistance with schoolwork because of things that have happened. And so our advocates are there to kind of help them, connect them to resources. And then counseling, because we know this can have far-reaching effects. And so we offer free counseling for the person that was affected and the non-offending family members. And we do one-on-one as well as group counseling.
So those advocates that do that, can you just describe a role of maybe a volunteer and staff within the SEMO NASV?
Yeah, so we have a number of different staff. We currently have 15 full-time staff. Volunteers, we have about 3, so we're always looking for more volunteers to work in our office. We do have 2 locations. Our main office is in Jackson, and our satellite office is in New Madrid, but again, we're always looking for volunteers. As far as our staff goes, they could be part of our medical team or forensic team. And those are the ones that are doing that forensic interview, forensic exam. There is special training for that. So our forensic medical team, they go through what's called SANE training, which is a sexual assault nurse examiner. So they have special training to be able to look at a person's body and make sure that everything's okay. They can document safely what has happened, essentially. We also perform sexual assault kits, or SAKs, at our office, and so the SANEs have the ability to do that. And then our forensic examiners, they're the ones that do the forensic interviews, and they go through special training. It's called Child First training, and that is a nationally recognized training. It's non-leading. They get to know the child, and basically it lets the child lead them through the interview, so they're the expert in what happened to them. And again, that is documented. And then we have our advocates, and our advocates connect the families to resources, help them through the process process, give them that point of contact afterwards, and then we have our mental health therapists that help with counseling. And then there's office staff and our MDT coordinator, myself.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of people to get this running, and
Yes.
that's great. How does a community and law enforcement and other organizations help address sexual violence within the large community?
Yeah, so we wouldn't function if we didn't work with law enforcement and other resources in our area. So we actually work really closely with what we call multidisciplinary teams, or MDTs. And those are local law enforcement, juvenile offices, Missouri Children's Division, mental health offices, and a number of other different agencies. But basically, they're the ones that help through the investigation process. And so we're just a piece of that total investigation process. And so we play a pivotal role in that. And so we have to work with that. So right now, because we work with 8 counties, we work with 8 MDT teams. And those consist of the law enforcement, of the juvenile offices, the Missouri Children's Division, et cetera. And so we all have to work together. We have to work collectively. And then as far as resources go, if someone is facing housing insecurity, we have to work with, say, the Safe House of Southeast Missouri or Susanna Wesley Family Learning Center to connect them to resources. We put on trainings throughout the year as well for MDT teams, for folks in the area. And so we do partner with Safe House and Susanna Wesley to put on those trainings as well.
So it seems like y'all are just one big team, always working together.
Trying to.
Yeah. How do you overcome a challenge that might come your way?
Yeah, so some of the challenges I would say that SEMO NASV faces are more kind of global or national challenges of the stigmas related to sexual violence. So sexual violence is the #1 unreported crime in the United States. So statistically, 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused before their 18th birthday. We have about 47,000 children living in the 8 counties that we service. So that means there could be about 4,700 kids at risk of abuse. On average, we see 600 clients a year. Now that's children and adults. So you can see that number doesn't equal out. So that means folks are not reporting, and that could be a number of reasons why. They may be the breadwinner in the household, and so if they report, then they have to find new housing. It could be fear of retaliation from the family. It could be fear of retaliation from their work environment. It could be that they don't think people are gonna believe them. And so there's just a lot of stigma around sexual violence. And so folks just are afraid of reporting. But the more folks report, the more that we can stop perpetrators from re-perpetrating children, because we know that perpetrators are usually repeat offenders, and so if they're abusing one kid, they're usually abusing multiple kids. And so if a child is brave enough to tell their story, they can hopefully stop that perpetrator from hurting someone else.
Yeah, that's really important to tell people. But as your time here at working at NASV, what impact has you have on raising awareness about sexual violence in Southeast Missouri specifically?
Yeah, so I would say 3 years ago, not many people knew who SEMO NASV was. So that's been one of my big goals since I've been at SEMO NASV, is to really expand awareness of who we are and what we do in the community. Like I said, all of our services are completely free. And I want people to know and feel comfortable that they have a safe space to come and report. The great thing about adults is they can come to us, they can have a forensic interview, they can have a sexual assault kit without actually reporting to law enforcement. We highly suggest they do, because that again can help us stop perpetrators. But if they just don't feel comfortable for wherever they are in their lives, they don't have to report. Children, they do. There has to be an open investigation for us to even be involved with a child case, because we have to have some teeth in that in order for us to continue to go forward with it. But an adult can just self-refer to our office. We have a 24-hour crisis hotline. So if something happens, unfortunately, in the dead of night or over the weekend, they can call our hotline and get those services right away. And so I just want people to know that there is this resource right in their backyard.
And there is. I don't think a lot of people know about it. I didn't know about it until I think later in high school when the Green Bear program came up. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Green Bear program is our prevention education program. And we go into schools and we try to teach kids about how to prevent abuse, essentially. So we know that our SEMO NASV is kind of post-abuse occurring. We want to stop it before it even occurs, if at all possible. And so our three main themes are defining what abuse is, deterring abuse, and disclosing abuse. And then we always emphasize that abuse is never a child's fault. It doesn't matter what they were wearing, it doesn't matter what they were doing, it doesn't matter what they said, it is never a child's fault that abuse occurs. We don't talk about body parts, we don't talk about, relationships, defining relationships. We really talk about no one should hug, kiss, or touch you under your swimsuit area. We really talk about body safety and making sure kids feel safe. And if something feels icky or wrong, to tell an adult and keep telling adults until someone helps them. Because unfortunately, a lot of times the first adult they tell them doesn't trust them. And so we just want them to get in that mindset of keep telling adults and get connected to those resources if something makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, so as your team at NASV, how would y'all measure success with that program or a lot of other things that you do?
So I can say that this past school year, so when I started, I want to say they were seeing about 18,000 kids through that program. This past school year, so the 2023-2024 school year, they saw just under 30,000 kids and adults through that program. So it has just grown exponentially. We have actually added a high school program in the fall of 2022 because of demand from schools. We had a program that was pre-K through 8th grade, and high schools were demanding we need 9th through 12th. And so we've added that program. We also do mandated reporter training through that program. So those are people who are legally required to report when a child comes to them and says that they've been sexually abused. So that would be like teachers, counselors, nurses, doctors, social workers. And we have a great partnership with SEMO University. And we actually teach the class on campus so that students can get that training on campus before they're even out in their field. And then we also have some parent classes. I will say those are not well attended, but we just released some video vignettes on our website, which is our class that's an hour-long class in 15-minute videos. So they're a little bit more consumable for parents to get that information, because I know parents are on the go. They're busy.
It's always a busy time when you're a parent. Is there any key stories that you remember about any success in NASV that just stands out to you?
So there's just so many things. I'm in the counseling suite, so I always hear the positive, uplifting side of the healing process of people kind of making that breakthrough of them finally being kind of past the abuse situation. So it's exciting to be in the counseling suite because I can hear that healing journey happen. So that's always really exciting for me. I think it's always great to hear anecdotally when a child comes to us and, we ask, what made you decide to disclose today? And they said, well, Green Bear told me it was okay. And that's just always great to hear that we know that our program is working in the schools. And so, hearing stories like that where we know that our program is preventing that abuse, or at least helping that child get to the resources that they need. It's always great to hear.
That's such a sweet thing to hear, to get a kid help that they need. You said that you had the parents like can watch a video and like to sub for one of the classes. What are some other initiatives or projects that SEMO NASV is working on to further its mission?
Gotcha. So many different things that we have going on. So April is a big month for us. So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we always have a ton of events that happen during that time. Check out our website because we have a ton of different awareness events. So we always set up some pinwheel gardens throughout our service region for that, just to raise awareness. The pinwheel is a big symbol for Child Abuse Prevention Month, showing just the freeness of childhood. And so we've got events through there. We do our Pennies for Prevention program where we work with area banks to put little boxes that talk about the Green Bear Project and try to raise funds for the Green Bear Project. So we do Pennies for Prevention in April. A big event that we have coming up actually in September is our Party in the Park, which will be happening in New Madrid at the Hunter Dawson Park on September 21st from 11 to 1. And that will be a free community event just to raise awareness of our Green Bear Project program and what we do in the community, but it'll also connect folks to other resources that are in the area.
Yeah, well, y'all always sound super busy and super informative and welcoming. Just switching the question up, how does SEMO NASV ensure confidentiality and privacy for survivors seeking help?
Yeah, so we have to remain confidential with who we are and what we do. So we follow all the HIPAA laws and all the state laws. So as soon as someone comes through our doors, they know that they're in a safe space and nothing is going to be shared unless it has to legally be shared by law enforcement. And so our advocates are really good about sharing what is being shared with outside resources. I will say that's not something that's my area, but the advocates do walk them through everything. There's paperwork that the parent or guardian, or if it's an adult, that they sign that shows what their legal rights are and all that good stuff.
Well, just a last question here.
Sure.
What advice would SEMO NASV give to community members who want to support survivors to get involved in the fight against sexual violence?
So one of the big things is if you see something, please report it to the Missouri hotline number because you can really be a voice for a child. Even if you suspect it, that's all you need is that suspicion in order to report it, because you can be that first person to report that for that child. And so I highly suggest speaking up if you suspect abuse happening because, again, you're that first line of defense maybe for that child. Also, just participate in different awareness events that we have going on. So like I said, April's big for us. And so check out our website at semonasv.org. And we have a ton of events that happen throughout the year, but April's really big for us, and just engaging with us at those events or engaging with the Green Bear Project program. Please let your kids go through that program. It's so great and so meaningful. And like I said, anecdotally, it means so much when a kid comes through and says, Green Bear told me it was okay. And so we know the program's working.
Alix, thank you again for being here today. We're going to give you the last word.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you're interested in getting involved in SEMO NASV or the Green Bear Project, I highly suggest you check out our websites at semonasv.org or greenbearmo.org. You can find out a ton of information on how to volunteer or donate, and love to hear from you.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you for watching another episode of Very Interesting. We'll see you next time.